You know what's kind of crazy is that we're out here spending thousands on new GPUs and consoles, chasing ray tracing and Unreal Engine 5, but then you boot up Ryse, Son of Rome, a game that came out over a decade ago, and it somehow looks better than half the stuff released today. Now, hear me out, this not just me nostalgia talking. There are games from the PS4, Xbox One era, like Uncharted 4, and some even older than that, and are still absolutely humiliating modern releases when it comes to facial animations, textures, lightning, smooth gameplay, and even gameplay features. So yes, I'm not just gonna yap about the visuals here. So basically, we're looking at older titles that aged like fine wine and still play like a dream, both hand and eyes. Crysis, 2007. You're dropped onto this stunning tropical island, but it's not a vacation. You're a soldier in a nanosuit, which is basically a super-powered suit of armor. Think of it like a high-tech second skin that lets you do things regular soldiers can only dream of. The island itself is a huge open playground. You're not stuck in small rooms or hallways. You can explore beaches, jungles, and even mountains. It's like a big sandbox, but instead of building sandcastles, you're fighting aliens and human soldiers. Your nanosuit is the real star. It's got 4 main modes: armor, strength, speed, and cloak. Armor mode makes you nearly invincible, like a walking tank. Strength mode lets you punch through walls and throw heavy objects like they're toys. Speed mode makes you run like a superhero, and cloak mode turns you invisible, perfect for sneaking around. You'll be facing a mix of enemies. There are human soldiers who are trying to stop you, and then there are the Thief, the alien invaders. They're tough and they have their own advanced technology. You'll need to use all your nanosuit abilities and weapons to survive. The game isn't just about shooting. You can choose how you want to approach each situation. Want to sneak past everyone and complete your mission without being seen? Use cloak mode. Want to go in guns blazing and destroy everything in your path? Use strength and armor modes. It's all up to you. The graphics are amazing even now, the island looks beautiful, and the explosions and effects are really impressive, but I mean, of course it is. It's can you run Crysis after all. Crysis is a game that gives you a lot of freedom. You can use your nanosuit powers and weapons to tackle challenges in your own way. It's like being a superhero on a tropical island, and you get to decide how to save the day. Batman Arkham Knight. Batman Arkham Knight lets you step into the Dark Knight's boots like never before. Set in an open-world Gotham City, the game throws you into the middle of chaos as Scarecrow and the mysterious Arkham Knight team up to bring Batman down for good. It's a darker, more intense story, and it pushes Batman to his limits both physically and mentally. The gameplay takes everything the Arkham series is known for and cranks it up. The free-flow combat is as smooth as ever, letting you string together brutal combos while countering enemies and using gadgets mid-fight. Predator mode is back too, giving you the freedom to stalk, terrify, and pick off enemies one by one. It's all about making you feel like Batman powerful but always in control. Then there's the Batmobile. Love it or hate it, it's a big part of the game. You can race through Gotham streets, use it to solve puzzles, or transform it into a tank to take on waves of enemy drones. While some of the Batmobile missions can feel a bit overdone, the sheer fun of driving through Gotham at full speed makes up for it. The open world is stunning. Gotham City feels alive with its neon signs, pouring rain, and dark, eerie alleys. There's always something to do, whether it's stopping random crimes, hunting down Riddler trophies, or taking on side missions that feature classic villains like Two-Face Penguin and Poison Ivy. Each side quest feels meaningful, adding layers to the world, rather than just padding out the game. The story is one of the best in the series. It dives deep into Bruce Wayne's psyche, exploring his guilt, fear, and the weight of being Batman. The Arkham Knight himself adds a new layer of tension, and the way his identity ties into Bruce's past is handled beautifully. Throw in Scarecrow's mind games, and you've got a narrative that keeps you hooked all the way through. Batman Arkham Knight isn't just a great Batman game, it's one of the best superhero games ever made. It's packed with action, story, and atmosphere, making it a must-play for anyone who's ever wanted to be the Dark Knight. Quantum Break is honestly one of the most ambitious experiments in gaming history because Remedy Entertainment decided to make a video game and a live-action TV show at the exact same time and mash them together. It came out back in 2016 and people were confused because after every chapter of the game, you have to sit down and watch a 20-minute episode of a real show with real actors. It sounds like a gimmick, but it actually works surprisingly well because the game follows the heroes trying to save the world and the show follows the villains trying to stop them. You play as Jack Joyce, who was played by the guy who was Iceman in the X-Men movies, and your main enemy is played by Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, so the acting is top tier. The story kicks off when a time travel experiment at a university goes horribly wrong, and time itself starts breaking down. You get hit with chronon radiation, which gives you superpowers, but it also means the universe is slowly freezing, and you have to fix it before time stops forever. The gameplay makes you feel like a total superhero because you do not just shoot guns, you weaponize time itself. You throw a bubble of frozen time at an enemy to trap them in place and then pump 100 bullets into the bubble. When the bubble pops, all those bullets hit the guy at the exact same second and he goes flying across the room. You also have a dash move that lets you teleport short distances to flank enemies, and a shield that stops bullets in midair right in front of your face. It looks absolutely incredible because when you use your powers, the air ripples and cracks like broken glass. The graphics are still some of the best ever made because of the lighting engine. There are these moments called stutters where time completely stops for the whole world except you. You'll walk through a room where an explosion is frozen in midair and debris is hanging around you and people are stuck screaming and you just walk past them casually. It is eerie and beautiful and makes for some crazy platforming sections where you have to jump across falling cars that are stuck in time. The coolest mechanic is called a junction point, where you actually switch characters and play as the main villain, Paul Serene. You have to make a hard decision that changes how the story plays out, and it actually changes the TV show episodes you watch. If you decide to kill a witness in the game, that character will be dead in the show, and the other characters will react to it. It makes the file size of the game absolutely massive, because it has to store all these high-quality video files, but it is worth it for the experience. The final boss fight is a bit annoying and sudden, but the journey to get there is a wild ride. It's a cinematic shooter that feels heavy and expensive, and there's really nothing else like it because nobody else was crazy enough to try mixing a game with a TV series again. It's a unique piece of history that plays great and looks even better. By Son of Rome. The graphics and visuals in this game were freaking insane when it came out, and honestly they still hold up incredibly well today. For a launch title on a new console, it was mind-blowing. The character models, especially Marius Titus, your main dude, a Roman centurion seeking revenge for his family, looked so detailed and lifelike. The armor, the environments, from the gritty battlefields of Britannia to the grand Colosseums of Rome, were just dripping with detail and atmosphere. Then there's the combat system, okay? So yeah, it's not Devil May Cry 3 with a million combos, but it's not trying to be. This is all about brutal, visceral, cinematic melee combat. You're swinging your sword, blocking with your shield, and using context-sensitive executions to finish off enemies in incredibly satisfying and violent ways. When an enemy is stunned, they'll glow a certain color, prompting you to hit a specific button, and then Marius will perform a crazy, bone-crunching, head-slicing finisher. It's incredibly satisfying to chain these executions together and just feel like an unstoppable Roman badass, hacking and slashing your way through hordes of barbarians. It might seem repetitive to some, but the sheer visceral impact and the constant flow of brutal finishers make it really addictive. The atmosphere and setting are also top-notch. You're living out this epic Roman Empire fantasy, fighting in massive battles, marching with your legion, and experiencing the sheer scale of ancient warfare. The story of Marius Titus's quest for revenge and his journey from a loyal soldier to a legendary commander is compelling enough to keep you engaged through all the blood and guts. It's a dark, gritty take on Rome that feels authentic, even with its mythical elements. So while critics might have focused on its linearity or simplicity, they overlooked its unparalleled visual fidelity for its time, its incredibly satisfying and brutal combat loop, and its ability to transport you into a truly epic Roman war movie. It knew exactly what it wanted to be, a spectacle of Roman warfare, and it nailed it. The brutal, cinematic fantasy of being a Roman soldier. If you want to feel powerful, witness incredible ancient battles, and enjoy some seriously satisfying sword and shield action, you absolutely need to dive back into Ryse in 2025. Mad Max. So Mad Max throws you right into this dry, dusty wasteland. It's post-apocalyptic, the world's all ruined, and no water, barely any gas, and people have gone totally nuts. But somehow it looks beautiful, like weirdly beautiful. The deserts, the sandstorms, the broken highways, even the sun hitting your rusty car just right. It all looks amazing. You'd think a world full of dirt would be boring, but it's not. It's kinda peaceful in a scary way. You play as Max, just Max. He doesn't talk much, he's always mad, and honestly, he's just trying to survive. The game starts off wild. You get your car stolen, your gear taken, and you get beat up bad. So now your goal is simple. Build the ultimate car, get your stuff back, and escape this hellhole. Now the best part of the whole game, the car combat. No joke. You spend so much time in your ride and it feels awesome. You can boost, ram into enemies, shoot harpoons to rip off doors, throw exploding spears. It's just pure chaos. Every battle feels like something out of a movie, and once you upgrade your car, called the Magnum Opus, it becomes this beast of a machine. You want to make it faster, stronger, covered in spikes? Go for it. There's a ton of options and it actually feels worth it. And the hand-to-hand combat is solid too. It's kind of like Batman Arkham, where you punch, dodge, counter, and take on groups of enemies in these brutal brawls. Max fights dirty. Headbutts, body slams, kicks to the face. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. The world's also packed with stuff to do. Enemy camps to wipe out, secret loot to find, snipers to take down, convoys to chase. Yeah, it has that open world checklist thing, but it's not annoying. The game doesn't force you to do everything. You do it because it's fun. You're just out there driving through sandstorms, fighting off raiders, and trying to stay alive in this broken world. But for some reason when this game came out, people just didn't care. Maybe it was the timing, maybe folks thought it looked generic, but the truth is Mad Max was way better than it had any right to be. It had style, it had grit, and it nailed the feeling of being alone in a huge, dangerous wasteland. The story wasn't anything super deep, but it had moments, especially near the end, that actually hit kinda hard. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the best Tomb Raider games. This time Lara Croft goes on a dangerous adventures to find lost secrets. This time she's looking for the divine source, something that might give people eternal life. But she's not the only one who wants it. A secret group called Trinity is also hunting for it, and they'll do anything to get there first. Right from the start, this game pulls you in, you climb icy mountains, sneak through ancient ruins, and fight enemies in snowy forests. The world is big and beautiful, full of caves, tombs, and secret places waiting to be explored, and it's not just about running and jumping, there's a lot of survival too. Lara has to hunt animals, craft weapons, and use the environment to stay alive. The combat feels really good. You can fight enemies with a bow, sneak up on them silently, or go in with guns blazing, but the best part, the tombs. They are full of tricky puzzles, hidden traps, and old treasures. Solving them feels super satisfying, and every tomb has its own little story. As you play, Lara gets stronger. You unlock new moves, upgrade weapons, and learn new skills to survive better. The more you explore, the more secrets you find, and it makes the game feel rewarding. The story is also really interesting. Lara isn't just some action hero. She's trying to prove something, trying to understand what happened to her father, and pushing herself past her limits. She's not perfect, she struggles, she falls, but she keeps going, and that's what makes her such a great character. If you love games with exploration, adventure, and action, Rise of the Tomb Raider is perfect. It's exciting, fun, and full of mystery, and once you start playing, you won't want to stop. Prey 2017. Oh man, Prey is one of those games where if you vibe with it, you're gonna get completely sucked in within the first hour. Like, no joke, I booted this thing up just to check it out, and suddenly 3 hours had passed. It's got that kind of pull. Now, if you've never played it, Prey is a sci-fi immersive sim. Think BioShock, but in space, with a whole lot of paranoia and mystery thrown in. You wake up on this slick, futuristic space station Talos 1, and everything seems kinda normal until, well, it's absolutely not. The game throws you into this crazy, mind-bending situation where you start questioning everything, and that's what makes Prey so damn addicting. Right away it hooks you with that mystery. Then there's the gameplay. It's got that Arcane Studios magic, where you're given all these cool tools and freedom to figure things out in your own way. You're not just running down hallways shooting aliens. This game makes you think. Do you sneak around? Do you turn into a coffee mug to avoid enemies? Yeah, that's a real thing, and it's as fun as it sounds. The Typhon, these terrifying black inky alien creatures, can mimic objects, so you'll constantly be second guessing whether that chair in the corner is actually a chair or if it's about to lunge at your face. And then you hit that moment, the one that seals the deal. You unlock some alien abilities, suddenly you're zipping around like a sci-fi wizard, and the game just opens up. You start seeing all these hidden paths and creative ways to get past obstacles, and that's when the addiction kicks in. You're like, wait, what if I use this power here? Or what if I stack these objects to climb up there? Next thing you know, it's 4 AM and you've accidentally played for 7 hours straight. If you love games that make you feel smart, let you experiment, and throw you into a world that feels like a puzzle box just waiting to be cracked open, Prey is an absolute must. It doesn't hold your hand, it doesn't spoon feed you solutions, and that's what makes it so damn satisfying. It's got that perfect mix of tension, exploration, and holy crap, did I just pull that off moments. It might start slow for some, but once you're in, you're in. Prey is the kind of game where you sit down for just one more objective, and suddenly the sun is rising. You've been warned. Detroit Becomes Human isn't really about sci-fi gadgets or flashy future tech. The sci-fi part is just the setup. What the game is actually doing is asking a very old human question in a modern way. What happens when something we created starts thinking and feeling for itself? The game takes place in a near-future Detroit where androids are everywhere. They cook, clean, work jobs humans don't want anymore, and they do it without complaining. At first, it all feels clean and efficient, almost perfect, but that perfection is exactly what makes the world uncomfortable. Androids are treated like objects, talked down to, abused, and discarded the moment they stop working right. The game doesn't rush this. It lets you sit in it and notice how normal this cruelty has become. You experience this world through 3 androids, and that's one of the smartest choices the game makes. Connor is a police android designed to hunt down deviant androids. He represents control, logic, and order. Playing as him feels cold and precise. You analyze crime scenes, reconstruct events, and chase targets like a machine would. But the more you play, the more the game quietly asks whether Connor is really just following code or if something else is starting to grow inside him.
I'm whatever you want me to be, Lieutenant. Your partner? Your buddy to drink with? Or just a machine designed to accomplish a task?
Marcus is the opposite side of the story. He begins as a caretaker android, but his path turns into something much bigger. His story is about rebellion, leadership, and choice. What makes Marcus interesting is that the game doesn't force him to be a hero or a villain. You decide what kind of revolution he leads, peaceful or violent, hopeful or angry, and the game actually reacts to that in real ways, not just small dialogue changes.
Then we will die free.
Then there's Kara, and her story is the most grounded and emotional. Kara isn't trying to change the world, she's just trying to survive and protect a child. Her chapters feel smaller, quieter, and more personal, but that's why they hit so hard. Through Kara, the game explores fear, love, and sacrifice in a way that feels very human, even though she isn't. Gameplay-wise, Detroit is mostly about choices and consequences. You're not mastering combat or learning complex systems. You're making decisions under pressure, sometimes with a timer ticking down, sometimes without knowing the full picture. The game shows you the branching paths after each chapter, which might sound like it would ruin the mystery, but it actually does the opposite. It makes you realize how many moments could have gone differently, and how close you were to losing someone or changing everything. What really sells Detroit as a sci-fi game is how believable it feels. This isn't some far-off future with aliens and space travel. It feels like a world we could realistically drift into. Facial animations, voice acting, and music all work together to make characters feel real. You can see fear in their faces, hesitation in their movements, and doubt in their voices. That level of detail is what makes the choices hurt when they go wrong. Detroit Become Human is the kind of sci-fi that sticks with you after the credits roll, not because of explosions or plot twists, but because it forces you to reflect on control, freedom, and empathy. It doesn't tell you what the right answer is. It lets you live with the consequences of the answers you chose, and that's what makes it powerful. The Order 1886. Let's talk about a game that was absolutely gorgeous, but definitely got a raw deal. The Order, 1886. This one dropped back in 2015, and it was actually a PlayStation 4 exclusive, which was a pretty big deal back then. Now, when The Order 1886 came out, a lot of critics kind of tore into it. The main complaints were usually, it's too short, or too many cutscenes, or it's super linear, or it's more like a movie than a game. And yeah, sure, if you went into it expecting a huge open world shooter that lasts for 80 hours, you might have been disappointed. But honestly, I think a lot of critics just completely missed the point of what this game was trying to be, and it's a shame, because it's actually awesome if you look at it for what it is. Now, wait, before I talk about more about it, if the price tag for this game was a little lower when it launched, it would be really great, but hey, in this video, we are not talking about pricing, so I hope you understand that. First off, dude, the graphics and visuals were absolutely stunning when this game came out, and honestly, they still hold up today. It looked like a pre-rendered movie cutscene, but you were actually playing it. The character models, the lighting, the environments, everything was just gorgeous. You could zoom in on a character's face and it looked like a real actor. It was a true showcase for what the PS4 could do at the time, and it still feels incredibly cinematic. It's like playing a super high-budget Hollywood blockbuster.
Surrender yourself!
Then there's the setting and atmosphere. This game is set in an alternate history Victorian London in 1886, right? But it's not just a normal London. It's got this super cool steampunk vibe mixed with some dark fantasy. You play as Sir Galahad, one of the Knights of the Round Table, who are basically these immortal super soldiers protecting humanity from monstrous half-breed creatures like werewolves. So you've got gas lamps, steam-powered tech, trench coats, and you're hunting monsters in a spooky, foggy London. And yeah, people complained about the cinematic experience with lots of cutscenes, but that was clearly the point. It was designed to feel like an interactive movie, and it totally nails it. The story is intriguing, full of conspiracy, cool characters, and some genuinely unsettling horror elements. The gunplay, when you are playing, feels really solid too. Those steampunk weapons are awesome, and they pack a real punch. It's not a sandbox, it's a super tight, focused, roller coaster ride of a story. Sleeping dogs. Sleeping Dogs is one of those games that came out, got a bit of attention, and then kind of disappeared, but it honestly deserves way more love. It's an open-world crime game set in Hong Kong, and it's got this cool mix of action, story, and style that makes it stand out from all the other city-based games out there. You play as Wei Shen, an undercover cop who's trying to take down the triads from the inside, but the deeper he goes, the more things get messy. He starts building real bonds with the gang members, and that line between cop and criminal starts to blur. That's the heart of the story. Wei's stuck in this world where loyalty and duty keep crashing into each other, and he's slowly losing control. It's not just about shooting bad guys, it's about who you are becoming.
He's not an outsider. He's from old prosperity. Like us.
The city of Hong Kong feels alive. Neon lights everywhere, tight alleyways, busy markets, rainy streets. It's got this cool, gritty vibe that most games don't have. It's not trying to copy New York or LA, it's got its own flavor. You can ride motorcycles, drive sports cars, or just walk around and soak in the atmosphere. The map isn't huge, but it's packed with detail. Now the combat, this is where it really shines. It's not like GTA where you mostly just shoot. In Sleeping Dogs, the hand-to-hand fighting is front and center. It's smooth, fast, and feels super satisfying. You punch, counter, throw dudes into walls, fish tanks, fans, whatever's nearby. It's brutal in a fun way. There's gunplay too, but most of the time, you're throwing hands like you're in a martial arts movie. The story moves fast and has some really good moments. Some parts are dark, like full-on emotional gut punches. Other times, it's just cool action movie stuff, big chases, explosions, undercover missions. There's also side stuff like racing, cockfighting, dating, karaoke, and helping random people in the street. It all adds to the vibe. Sleeping Dogs didn't get a sequel, which still sucks. It was planned but got canceled. That makes this game feel even more special, like a one-shot story that went all in and nailed it. It's complete. It doesn't need anything extra. Titanfall 2 is famous for being one of the most unlucky games ever released because EA sent it out to die right between a new Battlefield and a new Call of Duty. It sold poorly because people did not have money for 3 games in 2 weeks, but it ended up being better than both of those huge franchises. The developers at Respawn were the original creators of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, so they knew exactly how to make a gun feel good to shoot. The campaign is the real highlight here, because the first Titanfall game was multiplayer only, and everyone was worried this one would be an afterthought. You play as a rifleman named Jack Cooper who inherits a Titan named BT-7274 after his original pilot dies in the first 10 minutes. The writing for BT is genius because he is a robot who does not understand jokes or sarcasm, and the bond you form with him over the 6-hour story is surprisingly emotional. The level design is unmatched, and every mission introduces a new mechanic that you use for 20 minutes, and then they throw it away before it gets boring. The absolute best level is called Effect and Cause, and it gives you a wrist device that lets you time travel between the past and present with a single button press. You have to jump across a gap in the past and then warp to the present to land on a platform, and then warp back to fight enemies, and it is super smooth. The movement system is built on speed, so you are constantly wall running and sliding and double jumping to build up momentum. If you stop moving, you basically die, so it forces you to play fast and aggressive. The multiplayer is also chaotic and fun because you start as a pilot running around fast, and then you call down your massive Titan from the sky, and the gameplay shifts to heavy robot combat. It is honestly tragic that we will probably never get a sequel, because this game is a masterpiece that got ignored for all the wrong reasons.
I will not lose another pilot.
Deus Ex Human Revolution is the game that proved you can actually bring back a classic series without ruining it, because before this came out, nobody thought Eidos Montreal could pull it off. It came out in 2011, which was honestly a golden age for gaming, and it stands out because it has this super unique art style that is just covered in black and gold. Everything in the world looks like a Renaissance painting mixed with futuristic cyberpunk tech, and it makes the atmosphere feel expensive and dirty at the same time. Play as Adam Jensen, who is an ex-cop turned security chief, and the game starts with you getting absolutely wrecked and thrown through a glass wall. The doctors have to rebuild you with cybernetic parts to save your life, and the best part is that Adam hates it. He spends the whole game grumbling about how he never asked for this, and it gives him a really cool grumpy personality compared to other heroes who love their powers.
I never asked for this.
The gameplay is the definition of freedom because it is an immersive sim, which means the developers give you problems but they do not tell you how to solve them. You have these augmentations, which are tech upgrades installed in your body, and they let you break the rules of the level completely. You can upgrade your legs to jump 3 meters in the air and find a vent on the roof to sneak in, or you can upgrade your skin to be bulletproof and just walk through the front door with a shotgun. One of the coolest upgrades is the Icarus landing system, which lets you jump off a skyscraper and land safely with a huge shockwave that knocks enemies down. There's also the Typhoon system, which turns your body into a human grenade and shoots explosive ball bearings everywhere to clear a whole room instantly. The hacking minigame is actually fun too, because you have to capture nodes on a grid before the security system traces you and locks you out.
Access granted.
The most unique mechanic that people still talk about is the social boss battles, where you do not fight with guns but with words. You get into intense arguments with characters and you have to read their body language and pick the right dialogue options to convince them to help you. You can even buy a specific augmentation called the KZ mod that analyzes their pheromones and tells you if they're lying or getting angry so you can manipulate them better. It feels way smarter than just shooting a guy until his health bar goes down. The story gets really deep about transhumanism, which is just the idea of people merging with machines, and it asks if we are losing our souls by upgrading our bodies. The only bad part originally was the boss fights, because they forced you to kill them even if you were playing a peaceful run, but they fixed that in the director's cut version. It is a legendary game that respects your intelligence and lets you play exactly how you want. Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 doesn't just hold up, it still feels like a blueprint for how open world shooters should be done. Released in 2012, it throws you onto a gorgeous tropical island full of danger, chaos, and one of the most memorable villains gaming has ever seen. You play as Jason Brody, a privileged tourist who ends up stranded with his friends on an island run by pirates and lunatics. What starts as a mission to save your friends quickly turns into a descent into madness, violence, and survival. The gameplay is what makes it timeless. Far Cry 3 gives you the freedom to tackle things your way. Taking over an enemy outpost, you could sneak around, taking out enemies one by one with a silenced bow, or go loud, throwing grenades and lighting everything on fire. The game doesn't force you into a specific playstyle, it gives you the tools and lets you decide how to use them. And honestly, outpost takeovers never stop being fun. Exploration is another huge part of why it holds up. The island feels alive, from its dense jungles to hidden caves and stunning beaches. You're not just running from mission to mission, you're hunting animals to craft gear, finding relics, and stumbling upon random encounters that make the world feel dynamic. It's one of those games where you start out planning to do one thing and suddenly lose hours chasing distractions because everything's so engaging. And then there's Voss. He's not just the standout villain of this game, he's one of the best villains in gaming, period. His charisma, his unpredictability, and his iconic definition of insanity speech are burned into gaming history. But it's not just Voss. Far Cry 3 does a great job of making you question Jason's transformation. The story doesn't just ask, can you survive? It asks, at what cost? Even visually, the game still holds up well. The vibrant colors of the island, the detail in the environments, and the dynamic weather make it feel alive even years later. Combine that with tight shooting mechanics, a solid upgrade system, and a ton of side content, and it's easy to see why it's still a favorite. Far Cry 3 isn't just a fun game, it's an experience that sticks with you. Whether you're revisiting it or playing it for the first time, it's the kind of game that feels just as fresh today as it did over a decade ago. Infamous Second Son. Infamous Second Son puts you in the shoes of Delsin Rowe, a young guy who suddenly finds himself with superpowers and a big choice fight for freedom or take the darker path. The game is set in Seattle and it does a great job making the city feel alive. Even if it's not the biggest open world out there, you've got all these cool powers and honestly they're what make the game so fun. Smoke lets you dash around or launch through vents, neon gives you insane speed and precision, and concrete, well, that's for when you're ready to smash everything in sight. The story's pretty solid. It's about Delsin figuring out who he is and what kind of person he wants to be. The choices you make, whether to help people or just go full chaos mode, change how characters react to you and what kind of hero or anti-hero you become. It's not super deep, but it gets the job done, especially with how much personality Delsin and his brother Reggie bring to the table. Their back and forth feels real, like actual brothers messing with each other while still looking out for one another. Combat is all about freedom. You can go in loud, mix up your powers, or pick enemies off while flying around the city. Switching between abilities is seamless, and each one feels unique. It's not just about fighting either. Zipping up buildings and jumping across rooftops is so smooth it makes just moving around fun. The side content adds to the experience without feeling like a chore. There's tagging walls with graffiti. Delsin's an artist after all, breaking up enemy strongholds, and these smaller moments that make you feel like part of the world. It's not overloaded with busy work, which keeps things focused on the fun. Visually, the game does a great job showing off Seattle's rain-soaked streets, neon lights, and grungy vibe. Even the smallest details like the graffiti spray or the way powers look when you use them make everything pop. Infamous Second Son is just a fun game to dive into. The story's engaging enough to pull you through, but the real joy is just messing around with the powers and seeing how far you can push things. Last of Us Part 1. Straight up, one of the most important games PlayStation's ever put out. It dropped in 2013, and even now in 2025, people still talk about it like it just came out, and for good reason. This game hit like a truck back then, and it still hits just as hard today. Now the basic stuff, you play as Joel the dad, this rough, quiet guy who's lost everything when the world goes to hell. Then you meet Ellie, a teenage girl who might be the key to saving what's left of humanity. Joel gets stuck with the job of smuggling her across the country, and from there, man, the journey they go on is wild. Not just the places they travel through, but the way their bond slowly builds over time. They go from total strangers to something that feels like family.
You know, I've never been this close to the outside.
This game is all about story and emotion. Yeah, there's action and infected creatures and all that, but the real magic is in the quiet stuff. The little talks they have while walking, the broken down cities they explore. And the writing, still some of the best in any game, period. It never feels fake or overdone. It's raw, simple, and real. Joel's tough but broken. Ellie's funny, curious, and way tougher than she looks. You feel every choice, every loss, every moment between them.
So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
Gameplay-wise, it's a survival action mix. You sneak around, craft stuff, use every bullet carefully. The combat is brutal, not flashy, not fun in the usual sense, just desperate and messy, which fits the world perfectly. You're not a superhero here, you're just trying to survive. The environments are unforgettable. Cities overgrown with plants, flooded buildings, snowy forests. Every place tells a story just through how it looks. You're not just running through levels. You're living in this broken world for a while and it stays with you.
You make every shot count.
I got this.
Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. If you've somehow missed Shadow of Mordor in the last decade, now's the perfect time to see what all the fuss was about. Released back in 2014, this game managed to make waves with its unique blend of Tolkien's universe and some seriously innovative gameplay mechanics. At its core, Shadow of Mordor is an action-adventure game set in the richly detailed world of Middle-earth, but it's not just another trip through the Shire or Rivendell. You're stepping into the shoes of Talion, a ranger with a tragic backstory involving a slaughtered family and a magical bond with a wraith. This connection gives you some pretty wild abilities and sets the stage for a revenge-fueled quest. One of the game's standout features is the Nemesis system. It's this clever mechanic that creates a dynamic world where orc captains and warlords remember your past encounters. If you get killed by an orc or run into one again after a while, they'll recognize you, mock you for your previous defeat, and may even have risen in the ranks. It's a cool way to make each encounter feel personal and impactful. The combat system is fluid and satisfying, drawing heavy inspiration from Batman Arkham series, but with its own twist. You'll find yourself stringing together slick combos and using a range of abilities to take down hordes of enemies. It's fast-paced and visually impressive, making every battle feel intense. Exploration in Shadow of Mordor is pretty engaging, with plenty of side quests and collectibles to keep you busy. The world is designed with verticality in mind, allowing you to climb and traverse the environment in a way that adds a lot to the gameplay experience. Plus, the story, while not reinventing the wheel, is solid and ties well into the broader lore of Middle-earth. Graphically, the game still holds up surprisingly well. The environments are gritty and atmospheric, capturing the dark and menacing tone of Mordor effectively. Character models and animations have aged, but the overall presentation is still immersive. The game's strength lies in its innovative systems and engaging combat, making it a memorable entry in the action-adventure genre. If you're a fan of Tolkien's world, or just love a good open-world game with some fresh mechanics, Shadow of Mordor is definitely worth a look. It's a fun, action-packed experience that's aged well and remains a standout title in the last decade. Shadow of the Colossus. Now this one's just on another level. It's not loud, it's not packed with cutscenes or big dialogue moments, but somehow it hits harder than most games even today. It came out back on the PS2 in 2005, and it's still one of the most unique and emotional games ever made. You play as this quiet dude named Wander, and he shows up at this huge empty land, carrying a girl who's, well, dead or dying. It's not super clear. All you know is he wants to bring her back. And to do that, he makes a deal with this mysterious voice in the sky. The deal? Kill 16 giant creatures called Colossi. That's it. No small enemies, no towns, no side quests, just you, your horse aggro, and 16 massive beasts standing between you and your goal. And that's what makes this game so different. Every fight is like a boss battle, but also like a puzzle. These colossi are huge, like moving mountains. And each one is built differently. Some fly, some swim, some run fast, some climb walls. You have to figure out how to reach the weak spots, climb up their massive bodies, and stab them while they shake you off. It's not easy, and it's not always fast, but that's the point. Every fight feels epic, and when one of them finally falls, it's not even a victory, it's kind of sad. That's the thing about this game. It's got this quiet, heavy vibe, no music while you travel. Just wind, birds, and the sound of your horse's hooves. The whole world feels empty, but in a beautiful way. You start to feel alone, and the more colossi you take down, the more you start to wonder, am I the good guy here? The story doesn't tell you everything. It lets you think, it lets you feel weird about what you're doing. It plays with guilt, sacrifice, and the idea of doing something bad for someone you love. It's simple, but powerful. Even on PS2, this game looked amazing. The size of the world, the lighting, the way the Colossi move, it was all way ahead of its time. And when they remade it for PS4, it looked even better, but the soul of the game stayed the same. Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 is a gritty, action-packed third-person shooter. It's a bit of a departure from the earlier Max Payne games in some ways, but it still retains that signature noir feel and bullet-time action. You play Max Payne, a former NYPD detective who's now working as a private security contractor in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He's a broken man haunted by his past, and he's struggling to stay afloat. Things quickly go south, as they always do for Max, and he finds himself caught up in a dangerous conspiracy. The gameplay is all about intense gunfights. Max can still slow down time with his bullet time ability, which allows for some seriously stylish and over-the-top action sequences. It's incredibly satisfying to dive through the air, slow down time, and take out a room full of enemies. The gunplay itself is really well done. The weapons feel weighty and impactful, and the environments are destructible, which adds to the intensity of the firefights. There's a good variety of weapons to choose from, and you can dual wield them for extra firepower. Max Payne 3 also features a cover system, which allows you to take cover behind objects to avoid enemy fire. However, the game encourages you to be aggressive and use bullet time to push forward and take the fight to the enemy. The story is a big part of the game. It's a dark and gritty tale and explores Max's character in depth. He's not a typical action hero. He's flawed, vulnerable, and often makes questionable choices. The story is well written and engaging, and it will keep you hooked until the very end. Watch Dogs? Watch Dogs turns 10, and it's wild to think about how it set the stage for a new kind of open world game back in 2014. This one's a bit of a nostalgic trip, especially if you remember when the idea of hacking your way through a city was as fresh as it gets. You step into the shoes of Aiden Pierce, a hacker with a vendetta and a knack for turning every piece of tech into his personal playground. The game is set in a fictionalized version of Chicago, and let me tell you, the whole hacking mechanic was pretty groundbreaking at the time. You could mess with traffic lights, eavesdrop on conversations, and even turn security cameras into your own little network of intel. The story is kind of a classic revenge tale Aiden's after the people who messed with his family. It's not the most original plot, but it serves as a decent backdrop to the game's tech-heavy gameplay. The real star here was the ability to hack almost anything, which made you feel like you were part of this high-tech espionage thriller. Graphically, it was a stunner for its time, although looking back now, you might notice a few rough spots. Still, the city felt alive and reactive, and the hacking system was both innovative and a lot of fun. You could choose to be a stealthy hacker or go full throttle with the action, which gave the game a lot of replay value. Watch Dogs might not be the smoothest ride compared to its sequels, but it's definitely worth checking out if you want to see where the whole hacking and open world craze started. It's like taking a trip back to when this kind of gameplay was still a cool new idea, and it's fun to see how far the series has come since then. Metro Exodus. Metro Exodus is a game where you explore a big, messed up Russia after a nuclear war. It's a first-person shooter, which means you see the world through the character's eyes, and it's also a survival horror game, so things can get pretty scary. It's the third game in the Metro series, but this time, you're not stuck in the tunnels under Moscow anymore. You get to go outside and see what's left of the world. You play as Artyom, who was also the main character in the other Metro games. He and a bunch of other people who survived the war decide to leave the Metro and try to find a new place to live. They hop on a train and travel across the country, which is now a wasteland. It's a long and dangerous journey, and they meet all sorts of people along the way. The story is less about one big goal and more about the journey itself and the characters you meet. The game is a mix of shooting, sneaking around, and exploring. The shooting is tough, you don't have a lot of bullets, and your guns can break down. You have to scavenge for supplies and keep your weapons in good shape if you want to survive. Sneaking around is also important. Sometimes it's better to avoid a fight altogether, and you can sneak past enemies or take them down quietly. Exploring is a big part of the game too. There are lots of hidden places to discover, and you can find useful items and learn more about the world by exploring. Metro Exodus has a day and night cycle and a weather system that changes. This makes the game more challenging. Some enemies are more active at night, and it can be harder to see in bad weather. You have to be careful and plan your moves based on the time of day and the weather. There's also a crafting system. You can use resources you find to make ammo, med kits, and other things that will help you survive. Managing your resources is really important. You don't want to run out of bullets or med kits when you're in a tough spot. The story in Metro Exodus is more personal than the stories in the other Metro games. It's about Artyom and his relationships with the people he's traveling with. It's about hope, survival, and trying to find a better future in a world that's been destroyed. It's a pretty emotional story, and you really get to know the characters. Beyond Two Souls. This game, created by Quantic Dream, is like an interactive movie with some really intriguing elements. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for some, but there's definitely something special about it. You follow the life of Jodie Holmes, who has a unique psychic connection to an invisible entity named Aiden. The story dives into Jodie's life from childhood to adulthood, with a lot of focus on her struggles and the supernatural events tied to her connection with Aiden. It's all about emotional depth and personal experience, and the narrative unfolds in a non-linear fashion, so you're jumping between different moments of Jodie's life, piecing together her story as you go.
But they know only you know how to deal with what lies beyond the rift.
Open the passage?
Gameplay-wise, it's a mix of quick-time events and exploration. You'll be making decisions that affect how the story unfolds, but a lot of the experience is about being immersed in the narrative rather than traditional game mechanics. The supernatural elements add a unique twist, with Aiden's abilities allowing you to interact with the environment in ways that are both fascinating and sometimes a bit puzzling. Visually, the game has a cinematic quality with impressive graphics and a soundtrack that complements the emotional tone of the story. It's not the most action-packed game out there, but it makes up for it with a compelling narrative and a deep dive into Jodie's life. If you're into games that focus heavily on story and character, Beyond Two Souls is worth checking out. It might not be for everyone, especially if you're looking for traditional gameplay, but its narrative richness and emotional depth make it a standout piece in the interactive drama genre.
The test is over. You need to...
Alien Isolation. Okay, so Alien Isolation is one of those games that a lot of folks didn't finish or didn't even try. Some people said it was too slow or too scary. And yeah, sure, it is scary, but man, this game is something special. It flopped kind of hard when it came out, but now it's a masterpiece, straight up. So here's the deal. You play as this woman named Amanda Ripley. She's the daughter of Ellen Ripley from the old Alien movies. You go to this space station called Sevastopol, trying to find out what happened to your mom, but of course nothing goes as planned. There's this alien on board, not just any alien, the big scary one with the shiny head and the creepy mouth inside a mouth thing, and it is hunting you the whole game. Here's what makes Alien Isolation different. You're not some big action hero, you don't have a ton of guns, you don't even get to fight the alien most of the time. You gotta hide, sneak, stay quiet, you're crawling under tables, hiding in lockers, trying not to breathe too loud. That alien is smart too. It hears you, smells you, and it learns. If you hide in the same place too often, it'll figure it out. It's like you're really being hunted, and that makes everything way more intense. The space station looks amazing too. It's got this old school sci-fi vibe, like 1970s future style. Blinking lights, clunky computers, heavy doors, all of it feels real. It feels like you're inside one of those classic movies. The sound design is crazy too. Every little beep or hiss makes you jump. Sometimes you'll hear the alien crawling through the vents above you and just freeze in place, scared to move. The story is pretty solid too. It keeps you moving and gives you just enough hope to keep going even when things feel hopeless. You meet other people, try to survive and uncover what happened on the station, and it's not just the alien, there are creepy androids too. They walk real slow and talk in this weird, calm voice, but if they grab you, you're done for. So you're not just hiding from one thing, it's a whole mess of danger. But yeah, when the game dropped, a lot of people didn't finish it. They said it was too long or too hard. Some folks just gave up. So it didn't sell great, it didn't get the hype it really deserved. But here's the truth. If you stick with it, it becomes one of the most unforgettable horror games ever made. It's not just about jump scares, it's about tension, fear, that feeling in your gut where you don't know if you're gonna make it. The game nails that feeling. And now, years later, more and more people are going back and calling it a classic. Because that's what it is, a quiet, scary, beautiful masterpiece. Mirror's Edge. Mirror's Edge didn't try to be like everything else. No guns blazing, no big open world with side quests everywhere, just you, rooftops, and movement. This game was all about flow, parkour in first person, which almost no one had done before. You play as Faith, a runner in a clean, cold future city where everything looks perfect, but underneath it all, it's rotten. The vibe is super unique. White buildings, pops of red, clear blue skies. It doesn't look like other games, it feels fresh, even today. And then there's the way it plays. You're not just pressing a button to jump. You're timing it, grabbing ledges, rolling when you land, sprinting across pipes, crashing through windows. When it clicks, it's like dancing. You get in the zone and just move. No game feels quite like it. But here's the thing, Mirror's Edge didn't do so hot when it came out. It wasn't some big hit. People didn't know what to do with it. A lot of folks got frustrated, fell off rooftops too many times, or just didn't vibe with the no gun, no hand-holding style. So yeah, it flopped. EA didn't even rush to make a sequel. Took years before they even touched it again. Still, there's something kind of pure about this game. It's short, it's focused, no filler. You're running, jumping, escaping. That's it. The music's chill, the world is cold and quiet, and the story's simple but interesting. You're just this one person up against a system that wants to crush you. It's not loud about it, it just is. A lot of games now borrow pieces of what Mirror's Edge did back then, the parkour, the movement first design, but this one still stands out. It had guts. It didn't chase trends, it tried something new, and even though it stumbled a bit, it made history in its own way. Mafia 2. Now this is one of those games that quietly aged like fine wine. It dropped back in 2010, but honestly, it still holds up better than a lot of modern story-driven games, especially when it comes to tone, storytelling, and atmosphere. Mafia 2 absolutely nails it. So the first thing that stands out is the story. It's not trying to give you a 100-hour open world with side quests every 10 feet. It's way more focused. You play as Vito Scaletta, an Italian-American who returns home from World War II and slowly gets pulled into the world of organized crime. The whole game plays like an old-school mafia movie, something between Goodfellas and The Godfather, and it's not just about action, it's about loyalty, betrayal, family, and chasing a better life in a broken system. Vito isn't a superhero, he's just a regular guy trying to climb the ladder and take care of his family. That grounded, personal approach makes the whole thing hit way harder emotionally. You actually care about Vito and his best friend Joe Barbaro, and the bond between them is one of the best parts of the game.
About time you showed up.
But where Mafia 2 really embarrasses modern games is the atmosphere and detail. The setting. Empire Bay feels like a living, breathing city from the 1940s and 50s. Snow on the ground, jazz music on the radio, old school cars, classic advertisements, people walking around in period clothing. It's all so perfectly done. You step outside and just feel the time period. And that's something you don't see much these days. A lot of modern games set in the past kind of fake it, but Mafia 2 goes all in. It's stylish, moody, and rich with little details that bring everything to life. Let's talk realism too. The game's not afraid to slow things down. You don't have superpowers, the gunfights are gritty and grounded, you can only carry a couple weapons at a time, you reload manually, take cover, and actually feel the danger. The cops in this game don't mess around either. Speeding, they'll pull you over, run a red light, they'll fine you. That stuff adds a layer of immersion you don't see often.
The working man's a sucker, that's for damn.
Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus. Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is a game where you shoot a lot of Nazis. It's set in a world where the Nazis won World War II, which is a pretty scary thought. You play as BJ Blazkowicz, a really tough guy. People call him Terror Billy because he's so good at killing Nazis. He's trying to start a revolution in America, which is now controlled by the Nazis. It's a pretty messed up situation, but BJ is determined to fight back. The game is mostly about shooting, like a lot of shooting. You get to use all sorts of weapons. There are regular guns like pistols and shotguns, but there are also some crazy futuristic weapons that the Nazis have. You can even dual wield weapons, which means you can hold in each hand and shoot twice as many Nazis. It's pretty intense and there's a lot of blood and explosions. The shooting feels really good though. The guns feel powerful and it's satisfying to take down enemies. Wolfenstein 2 isn't just a serious gritty game though. It's also kind of crazy and over the top. It knows it's a video game and it doesn't take itself too seriously. There are some really ridiculous moments, funny lines, and just plain weird stuff that happens. It's like a B-movie action film, but you get to play it. But even though it's crazy, the story is actually pretty good. It's not just about killing Nazis, it's about why you're killing them. It explores themes of freedom, oppression, and what war does to people. BJ Blazkowicz is a complicated character. He's a tough guy, but he's also got feelings and worries. The game shows you his struggles and what motivates him to keep fighting. It's a surprisingly deep story for a game that's mostly about shooting. You get to visit a bunch of different places in the game. They're all based on real places in America, but they've been changed a lot because the Nazis are in charge. There are ruined cities, big Nazi bases, and all sorts of other interesting locations. The levels are designed so you can explore them and find hidden stuff, but they're also designed for intense gunfights. There's always something to shoot at. So Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is a game where you shoot a ton of Nazis. It's fast, it's violent, it's kind of crazy, and it has a surprisingly good story. It's not just mindless action. There's actually something to think about while you're playing. If you like shooting games and you don't mind a lot of blood and over-the-top action, you should definitely check it out. It's a wild ride, but it's a fun one. Metal Gear Solid V: The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid V: The Phantom Pain is one of those games where you'll load it up just to do a quick mission and somehow end up sinking 5 hours into it without even realizing. It's not because of some crazy non-stop action. In fact, most of the game is pretty slow and methodical, but it's the freedom and flexibility that keeps you hooked. Every mission is basically a massive playground, and there are so many ways to approach it that you'll keep coming back just to mess around. The core gameplay loop is what makes it so addictive. You'll be sneaking into enemy bases, knocking out guards, and extracting soldiers, vehicles, and even animals back to your base, and thanks to the open-ended level design, you can tackle objectives however you want. You can go in guns blazing, clear the place out with airstrikes and rocket launchers, or take the slow, stealthy route, marking every enemy with your binoculars and picking them off one by one. There's no right way to do anything, and that's what makes it so fun. Every mission feels like your own unique story, and the tools you have make the game stupidly fun to experiment with. You'll unlock tons of weapons, gadgets, and vehicles, but the real star is the Fulton recovery system. You can strap a balloon to literally anything, guards, trucks, machine gun turrets, goats, and watch them get yanked into the sky while they scream in confusion. It never gets old. But what really sucks you in is the base building and management. Every time you extract a soldier or vehicle, they get sent back to Mother Base, which you can expand and upgrade. You'll be recruiting specialists, improving your R&D department, and developing better weapons and gear. It gives the game a weirdly addictive strategy layer, where you'll keep doing side ops just to bring in more elite soldiers or rare resources. And while the story itself is a bit disjointed, it's still packed with classic Metal Gear moments. You've got over-the-top boss fights, dramatic cutscenes, and weird, creepy supernatural elements mixed with gritty military realism. Even if you don't fully understand the lore, because let's be real, who does, you'll still get swept up in the emotional moments and Kojima's signature brand of bizarre storytelling.
Pull the trigger.
Witcher 3.
The land of love and wine.
This is the open world RPG that changed the game for a lot of people. It's huge, yeah, but it's not just big for the sake of it. Every area feels like it matters. Every quest feels like it was written by an actual human, not just thrown in. And the world? It's dark, detailed, and full of life, even if a lot of that life wants to kill you. But you play as Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter for hire, kinda like a medieval bounty hunter with magic. He's not a chosen one or some fresh-faced hero. He's grumpy, experienced, and honestly just trying to get paid. succeed and find the girl he sees as his daughter. What makes Geralt cool is that he already knows the world. You're not building a character from scratch, you're stepping into the boots of someone who's been around, and that makes the writing feel way more natural. The world is split into a few giant areas: Velen, Novigrad, Skellige, and more, and they're packed. Forests, cities, villages, swamps, mountains, islands, you name it. You're constantly running into weird stuff off the path. One minute you're hunting a werewolf, the next you're helping a ghost get closure or dealing with some dude who made a deal with a demon and now regrets it. And the crazy part, even the smallest side quests are well written. They're not just fetch quests. Most of them have twists or emotional beats that hit harder than you'd expect. Combat's solid, not perfect. You've got swords, signs, which are like little spells, bombs, oils, potions, and you'll need to prep before fights. Like, if you're going after a vampire, you better read about it and bring the right tools. It's not just hack and slash. It rewards planning. And the choices? Yeah, they matter. Not in a flashy good versus evil kind of way, but in a more realistic sense. You might make a decision thinking it's the right one and later find out you screwed someone over without meaning to. The game doesn't hold your hand. It trusts you to deal with the mess. That's what makes the world feel real. So yeah, The Witcher 3 is that rare game where everything just clicks. Story, world, characters, quests, it all works together. It's the kind of game you think about even after you finish it, not just because of what happened, but because of how you played it. And for open world RPGs, that's the gold standard. Uncharted 4. And if you have been playing the Uncharted series since the starting days, you must know how big of an influence these amazing games had as a whole on the newer PlayStation games, especially Uncharted 2. And here we are going to talk about the best of all, well, at least for me, which is Uncharted 4. This game still plays and looks like it could be a next-gen title. The fluid animations, the set pieces, the pacing, everything was perfect. It's the last big chapter for Nathan Drake, and you can feel that from the start. He's not the young, wild guy he used to be. He's older now, trying to live a quiet life with Elena, but deep down, you know he misses the thrill. So when his brother Sam shows up asking for help, Nate jumps back in. One more adventure. And honestly, it's his best one. The game takes you all over the world, from muddy jungles to crazy pirate ruins, and every place looks insane. And you know that jeep chase in Madagascar is still one of the coolest moments in any game. And the whole pirate treasure hunt thing, it just keeps getting bigger and crazier as the game goes on. And for the gameplay, everything's smoother here. Gunfights feel clean, you can go loud or stealthy, and it's actually fun either way. The climbing feels more natural than before. And then there's the grappling hook, which might sound like a small thing, but it adds so much to how you move. You're swinging across gaps, climbing faster, pulling off cool stunts. It's just fun to control. The exploration is a big deal too. It's not a fully open world, but the levels are wide enough that you can take your time, look around, and find hidden paths or optional stuff. And the visuals, crazy. This was a PS4 game, but it still holds up with modern stuff. The water, the lighting, the little details in buildings. Naughty Dog didn't mess around. So yeah, Uncharted 4 isn't just one of the best PlayStation exclusives, it's one of the best games, period. Great story, fun gameplay, beautiful visuals, and an ending that actually feels like an ending. If you've never played it, you're missing out.